being more confident is the one single thing that is really going to make the biggest difference to your sailing, especially your high wind sailing. We're going to be looking at 7 most likely things that have been ruining your confidence when sailing in high winds, and then we are actually going to finish with a little bonus feature, the easiest way that you can gain more confidence on the boat. Sailing in too much wind too soon. Whether you're new to catamaran sailing or perhaps you've just upgraded to a bigger and more powerful boat, if you're going out when there's more wind than you know how to handle too soon, it is going to make for a much more frightening experience. We can avoid this happening by gradually building up the amount of wind that we're going sailing in. I know it's not possible for everyone. If perhaps you've got one day of the week where you're able to get out on the boat and that one day happens to be blowing 27 knots, if it can be avoided, yes, let's avoid it. One thing we can do when it is windy and we definitely want to go out is we can leave the jib at home. Don't take the jib. That's going to remove a good amount of your power on the boat. If you're sailing a 16, check out the video that I did on sailing without a jib. Yes, it does work. Knowing the procedure of what to do after you've capsized is really going to help massively, because one of the most worrying aspects of sailing when it's windy is we might capsize. If you've gone through the capsize training and you know exactly what to do if you capsize, then that bit of fear there is going to be greatly reduced, thus improving your confidence. A good thing you can do if you've got the facility to do it, perhaps you get down to your sailing place and there's no wind and you're like, oh, what are we going to do? You could rig the boat up, put it in the water, make some sort of anchor or a mooring for the front of your boat, anchor the boat, tip it over in the shallow water and just have a little safe shallow water capsize drill so that you can actually go through the procedure of what to do when you capsize. That's really going to help. Perhaps you're sailing from a place where it's particularly busy, or there might be waves coming onto the beach, or there might be some other obstructions in your way. Perhaps you go out sailing when the wind isn't in a favourable direction. Probably the best thing we can do about this is to actually think about it, go through it, even draw a diagram so you've got it really clear in your mind what is going to be the best approach. So I have made some videos on how best to approach a beach or mooring, so check those bad boys out, but have your best approach plan in mind and then have contingency plans for what if something goes wrong. One thing you can do if you're sailing in wind which is generally onshore, which to be honest, if you are new to catamaran sailing, this is definitely more sensible. So if we've got a more onshore wind, what you can actually do is lower your mainsail while you're out and just come in on the jib. That's going to make you have a much more slow and controlled manner of coming in. When the wind is not consistent, this is really going to make you feel like you're not doing a particularly good job, because the wind is always trying to buck you off the boat in some way or do something that you weren't expecting. Now, I know for some people, sailing in shifty or gusty conditions is an everyday way of life. So all that we can do to make sailing in these conditions easier and more predictable, 2 things. One is make sure you've got telltales and wind indicators on your boat. That's going to help massively. And the second thing you can do is to keep looking outside the boat as much as you can. Look towards where you feel that the wind might be coming from, and then look for those dark patches or different patches of texture on the water And where there's a dark or a shiny or the water looks slightly different, that is going to be how you're going to spot that next gust or shift. If early in your sailing career on your catamaran, if you have an equipment failure, the most common and significant is probably the mast coming down, then yes, you are going to lose your confidence with your boat. Now that is why I keep piping on about changing your rigging every 4 or 5 years if you're not using the boat so much. If you've just bought a used boat and the previous owner hadn't replaced the rigging, replace the rigging. At least the stuff that holds the mast up. That is going to make such a difference. If it's got an old, tired trampoline where if you even look at it, holes appear, if you haven't got somewhere nice to sit on the boat, that is not going to do your confidence any good. So unfortunately, what I'm saying is, yes, you might have to spend a bit of cash in this arena. Now this could really do a massive blow to your confidence if you go out sailing and you're not totally sure that you're going to be able to tack the boat so you can get back in. This is not going to do your confidence any good. So all that I can recommend on this topic is watch the videos on tacking and then get out and do some dedicated tacking practice sessions. So go out sailing and say, we're not coming back in until we've done 10 very nice tacks. Get out there and practice. You don't even have to go very far from the shore, as long as it's not busy, of course. Get out there and practice your tacking. By going out sailing and keeping the main sheet in one position, you are really just down to the will of the gods what is going to happen to you on your boat. If the main sheet is in one place and there's a gust, then it's up to the gust what's going to happen to the boat. You're not in control. Playing the main sheet is the biggest way to have that feel of being in control of your boat. So being able to uncleat the sails, do some on land practice, sheet in, uncleat, sheet in, uncleat, sheet in, uncleat, over and over again. When you go out sailing and you don't need to uncleat the sail, practice. So uncleat the sail when it's not in a critical situation where there's a brown flag up and they're running for the hills. Do it while you're feeling a little bit safer on the boat. Get some practice in. It's really going to make a massive difference. And all it's going to take is one practice session, uncleating, sheeting in, main and jib, get the crew practicing as well. And then for the rest, the entirety of your catamaran sailing days, you are going to know that you can uncleat the main sheet. Make sure your cleating angle is right, of course. If it's really low, then you're not going to be able to uncleat. What can very easily boost your confidence, and that is put on some rubber. Yes, we're talking about protection. If it's windy and you're just going out, perhaps you sail somewhere warm, and you're just going out sailing in your board shorts, in your bikini, perhaps even less, then if something happens, you're not going to have any barrier between you and the parts of the boat. So what I would always suggest, if it's warm, well, what I do is if it's really warm, I put on 2 pairs of shorts, make sure I've got a rash vest on, that sort of thing. But if you've got one, put a shorty wetsuit on, some sort of rubber which is going to be between you and anything that you could potentially come into contact with. When it's windy, there might also be some wind chill, so it is worth having that protective layer. Always wear a buoyancy aid. That's going to protect your vital organs and your main torso. If you have an impact, it's going to make you feel more kind of bulletproof when you go out on the water. Also, traction. If you go out on the trapeze on the boat and you're sliding up and down the side of the boat like there's no tomorrow, you're not going to feel very confident. So having some faith in your ability to grip on the side of the boat is really going to help. So wear some appropriate shoes. So thanks very much for sticking around till the end. I hope that has been helpful. If you've got any great confidence boosting ideas, put them in the comments below so that we can all learn from your experience. I'll see you soon with some more on Joyrider TV.